But Cliff in Kentucky is waiting on hold. What's up, Cliff?
Hey, guys, I got two questions for you. What rookie besides Madden Max has stood out so far? And I'm not going to ask you to tell me which player, but usually at the end of this, Brandon Beane usually trades like a position that we have too much of and get some value like a fourth or a fifth round pick. If we were to say a position has too much and, Brandon Beane trades, what position should we look for that we have a surplus of? Go Bills and go Cats.
Yeah,
Thanks,
listen, was he in Kentucky? He said go Cats?
He was in Kentucky, yes.
All right, well, I'll go right to your Kentucky guy. We'll go back to Deone Walker. I mean, he's just his body is so impressive. I can't say that anybody's looked like, oh, my God, blowing off the charts plays they're making as a rookie. But I look at Deone Walker and say, oh, my God, like he's a man, right? And he's a football player, and he really stands out like that. So that's to answer your question there. I'll even go further, and you said I'm not going to ask you what player, but I do wonder at the end of this process if you – now, because of the Michael Hoecht suspension, it makes it way tougher, but they have a bit of a surplus at defensive end. And then you think about a guy like AJ Epenesa going into the last year of his contract, and I'm not going to sit here and predict that he necessarily gets traded. Javon Solomon, right? He's a guy – he's kind of like a Bam Johnson a few years ago, right?
Yeah,
not the same size player. He's a smaller size guy, but you had a guy on your team, special teams, pass rusher maybe, not going to fit here, not going to have a spot. AJ Epenesa, he's now in his second contract, going in the final year of his contract, though. I think defensive end is an area here, Joe, where they could have some decisions to make and maybe a surplus. And then I'll say also offensive line.
Yeah.
And I wonder, you have a guy in Ryan Vandermark specifically who had been a healthy scratch last year, who didn't win the swing tackle job. He did 2 years ago, but Tylon Grable took that from him last year.
Right.
And then when Tylon Grable got hurt, Vandermark was the guy. But it's Tylon Grable's job, and what I've seen out here, it still is. So is Ryan Vandermark a guy where, okay, yeah, we'll definitely keep him around, or you know what, he's got some value. I think those are the positions, but those are two guys I think about.
Yeah. And the end position, you're right, the Hoecht suspension makes it trickier because you need guys to play early in the year. The Baltimore game right away, whoever wins that game basically is a 2-game lead for the 1 seed. Like, there are going to be important games early on. And without Hoecht, if Hoecht was not suspended, I'd be sitting here right now saying, trading AJ Epenesa frees up $6 million on your salary cap. Trading him, not cutting him. I don't think cutting him frees up anything. You trade him, $6 million. You don't have many spots anyway. If you like Javon Solomon, get a pick, get an asset. But I don't have Michael Hoecht. And Epenesa is reliable and knows the defense and is a veteran at this point. So are they going to want to do that when they might need veterans? Feel like they need veterans early on to play. What's tricky about that is when Hoecht comes back, maybe you could get to, all right, now it's week 7, we're out of the bye, he's returning, and we have too many guys we like. Maybe then they decide to trade somebody in the middle of the season, but that would be assuming everyone's healthy. Yeah.
I think that's the key, though, Joe. By the time you get to week 7, there's some bumps and bruises.
Right.
So you're like, okay, now we're getting Michael Hoecht back, and he fits right in. Because right now you look at it. To me, here's the roster I'll show you.
Yep.
Rousseau, Bosa, Epenesa, and let's not count Hoecht. You still have Javon Solomon, Landon Jackson. That's 5.
That's 5.
Right?
Yep.
If you keep Hoecht, you're not keeping 6 defensive ends in the roster. You know why I say that? Because you're also keeping 5 defensive tackles. Oliver, Daquan Jones, DeJuan Carter, T.J. Sanders, and Deone Walker are making it. Larry Ogunjobi suspended.
Yeah.
So if you count Ogunjobi and Hoecht, you got 6 on each. You're not doing
12
that.
12 line minutes.
Who's not making it? There's going to be a spot not open for somebody. Somebody doesn't have a chair at the end of it. What I wonder, too, is how do you divvy up the reps on defensive line, knowing that Hoecht and Ogunjobi are not going to be around for 6 weeks? Do you kind of use them up and get their reps going in preseason because they're not going to be with you? Because, Joe, those reps are valuable to those young guys who have to play early on as well. I don't know how they're going to do this in the preseason.
They might. The reps is going to be tough. They might just really say, we're going to go 5-5, and we know it'll be 6-6 when Ogunjobi and Hoecht return, but we're going to just play it by year because there's a good chance that we have injuries. It happens, right? And if one guy's injured at both, then that kind of makes it a little bit easier. And if not, then you cross that bridge when you get there.
You teased the Hard Knocks thing.
The Hard Knocks thing.
I want to know what player this is.
Following around, there was a camera crew that was following around one player yesterday, and I saw pointed out that he's going to be featured.
Ooh.
And I would assume in the first episode, like the stuff that they're filming in the last 2 days, I would assume that's episode number 1. August 5th is in my head. I think it's August 5th.
It's that Tuesday, I think, whatever that is, yeah. Tuesday.
Khalil Shakir.
Oh.
Yeah, Khalil Shakir is a feature early on. And I like that. I mean, it's a big commercial for all the Bills and the important players and coaches that aren't Josh Allen. Like everyone knows Josh Allen, and he'll be part of this too, of course. But it's a good opportunity to tell the story of a lot of guys, and for the football world to get to know good players that maybe they're not that familiar with. And Shakir's very, top of mind on that list. So not surprising to see him be one of the first guys featured. Who else would you assume is going? I feel like Ray Davis is inevitable because of the Big Brothers Big Sisters program that he's very involved with, and he's got a personality.
I think Deone just immediately.
Deone
was in the tent yesterday.
Deone
Dawkins. Deone was in the tent yesterday with his whole family.
Yeah.
He did the press conference with his 3 kids and his wife, and he said, "I love the camera. Shout out to Hard Knocks. I love being on. Like, guys shy away from it. That's not me. I love this." And I think that stuff is going to show, but how much do they really follow him around? Like you said with Khalil Shakir.
Yep.
Khalil's interesting because he's really good for what the Bills probably want out of this, right? Like from a standpoint of if you go to the Bills and say, hey, we need a guy who's good with the media, we're going to follow around, it becomes a story. The Bills are thinking, well, we don't want a distraction. We don't want a guy who, you're probably going to pick a guy at some point that's fighting for a job, but, we kind of want the good PR out of it and a guy that's going to be able to handle this and a guy that's not going to do anything wrong or say anything wrong. You know what? Khalil Shakir is a great guy for this.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it makes sense for fans watching at home versus other players.
Yep. I mean,
he's fine, but is there a real storyline with Khalil Shakir?
More than just his growth as a player and getting paid and what he means to the offense. No, right. There's nothing controversial about him. Really, the only player they could have done anything like that with, you mentioned like maybe your roster bubble player they could have done that with, or they could have done it with Cook. They could have done that.
Could have done it.
But you don't even know if James Cook's going to give you any. I mean, he's here. He's practicing. I mean, the most maybe he'll give you is what he gave yesterday in the press conference.
I mean, I thought about. Yeah, we talk about roster bubble. I thought about even like a guy like Joe Andreessen, local kid.
That's a good one.
Right? Like,
that's a really good one.
Is that someone that they focus a little bit on?
Buffalo Joe.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities, but I'll be watching for that now. Khalil Shakir, I didn't know that.